What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets here. Chris Meaney hanging out with you. Going to take a look at 10 sleepers for the fantasy hockey season. A friendly reminder, the Fantasy Hockey Draft Guide is free, and it's available over at ftnfantasy.com. Links inside the description of this video. If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, we greatly appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube page. Dangle Batselli will return the first episode live October 8th on Tuesday as we prep the opening night in the NHL, myself and Eric Young. But links inside the description of this video: sleepers, busts, undervalued, targets, bounce back, breakouts, NHL betting guide, giving you my playoff teams, award winners, futures there as well. Dove into every team and have some fantasy targets for every team as well as busts. So links inside the description of this video. Some of the players undervalued, I could have put as sleepers, and some of these players as sleeper, I could put it undervalued. What sleeper means to me is undervalued. It means I feel like they're going to return investment on their average draft position. Every league is different. Yahoo, ESPN, Best Ball, there's some players that are just kind of buried. So here are 10 players that I feel are sleepers for the fantasy hockey season. And I'm up at the top of Fabian Zetterlund. You know, I gave a little bit of love earlier to when I did the undervalued targets. I was talking about Tyler Toffoli and Mikael Granlund. And I was saying that I think the Sharks are going to be fun this year. I really do. I don't think they're going to be a great team. They weren't last year, but they're going to be improved on offense. You know, adding Toffoli and Celebrini and Will Smith, like those are two players that I've been targeting late in drafts. Smith is going undrafted. You know, he's a big volume shooter in college. This is a decent top six. And for Zetterlund, this guy was a stud last year in the second half. Last year, if you just look at some of his numbers, I mean, career best 24 goals and 44 points and 16 power play points. It was his first full season with the Sharks. You know, he's trading the Timo Meier deal. We saw that he's not afraid to shoot the puck, 204 shots, throw his body around, 120 hits. I have a ton of shares of him in Best Ball. I've been looking at him a little bit earlier than where he's going. You know, the second last pick, third last pick. Makes for a decent stack with maybe Toffoli and Granlund. You get Celebrini in your life. Will Smith probably won't really return value in best ball formats, but in redraft, I think he's certainly interesting there. So it's a decent top six. He can touch a lot of categories. He's got left and right eligibility. I really do like Fabian Zetterlund. I could have counted him as a potential undervalued candidate. I went with sleeper here. The next guy on my list is Anthony Duclair, now a member of the New York Islanders. This is exactly what the Islanders needed. Somebody who can score some goals inside their top six. I mean, Duclair, 20 goals in his sophomore campaign, which really was his rookie campaign with Arizona. You remember he only played 18 games as a rookie with the Rangers in 2014. He had 23 goals with the Senators. Man, he's bounced around a lot, right? The Rangers, the Coyotes, the Blackhawks, the Senators, the Blue Jackets, Florida, San Jose, Tampa. Like, this guy's been around. Of course, in Tampa, 15 points in 17 games, 8 goals. He was playing for the most part with Kucherov and Point. He's not going to have that type of talent, but I think there's a real possibility he's on that first line with Barzal and Horvat, and they just roll with Palmieri on that second line with Nelson. Either way, I think he's playing with Horvat or with Nelson. So he could score, right? Again, 31 goals with Florida, 23 goals with Ottawa, 20 goals with Arizona, 16 goals in 56 games with the Sharks before he was traded last year to Tampa. So another season with over 20 goals. He does like to shoot the puck. He's not going to throw his body around. You look at power play points. He had 2 power play points in 17 games with Tampa. Of course, not going to be on that first unit. He had 10 power play points with the Sharks in 56 games, did get some time on the top unit. And with Florida, he has a season with 9 power play goals and 12 power play assists through 74 games. That was his best season. He had 31 goals and 58 assists, or 58 points rather, in the 74 games. Like I said, I think he can be in the top 6. I think he can help out the power play. And he's really not even getting drafted. You can pick him with like your last pick or what. There'll be some highs and lows. The Islanders are not going to score a ton of goals. If he's not producing from a point standpoint, he's not doing a whole lot for you. Because he's not going to throw his body around all that much. But he can score some goals, and I think it's a nice addition, as I mentioned. Next up here, we got Tyson Foerster with the Flyers. There's a few players here with the Flyers that could have put in as sleepers or undervalued or breakout candidates here. Of course, like Mitchkov is lighting the world on fire at the moment. He's not a sleeper. He's not a breakout candidate because he's a rookie. But Tyson Foerster, the Flyers were impressive last year. They made some noise. They had a playoff spot really the entire year before the final year. But this top six is very interesting to me. I'm not completely interested in Sean Couturier, but we know that Owen Tippett is a guy that I think could take another level. I think he's a great target. I think he can get up to the 35, 40 goal range. He likes to throw his body around and shoot the puck. Konechny, same sort of deal, a good fantasy asset, touches a lot of categories. Morgan Frost, I think, could break out. We could see a Tippett, Frost, Mitchkov line. We could see Couturier, Konechny, and Foerster. Either way, the Flyers got a pretty interesting and intriguing top six this year. And Foerster is a former first round pick in 2020. I think 23rd overall. Last year was his first full season in the NHL and a good one. 20 goals he scored. He had 33 points in 77 games. He wasn't a big player on the power play, only 8 points, but the Flyers power play was awful. You expect Mitchkov to help them. Can Drysdale stay healthy? He didn't show me a whole lot last year. Early on, he did before he suffered the injury. But I think, Sanheim's probably the better target. He's going to touch more categories there. But Foerster, some wingers now around him, 100 plus hits last year. So he throws his body around 17 minutes per game, could probably still lives in that 17-minute per game range, but we could see maybe close to 180 shots and maybe improve in terms of the assist department. Maybe he can get up in the 40, 45 point range there. Cutter Gauthier, former Flyer, didn't do that on purpose. Was traded in the Drysdale deal there for Anaheim, right? And I kind of understood it. Like Gauthier didn't want to play there, and they had a kind of one too many defensemen, need some forwards. I think the Ducks may make another move or two, but we'll see. I watched a lot of Boston College last year. Cutter Gauthier can play, man. And one thing I like about him is he could shoot the puck, and he loves to shoot the puck. It's like last year, Boston College, when Frozen Four, I was looking at some of the shot props, like 5.5, 6.5, things like that. But last year in 41 games, 38 goals, 65 points. And in 2022, he had 16 goals and 37 points in 32 games. Some real nice moments in the World Juniors for Team USA. 10 points in 7 games, 12 points in 7 games. This is a former number 5 overall pick by the Philadelphia Flyers in 2022. And he should get a real opportunity to play this year with the Ducks. And I'm interested in him and Leo Carlson. I think that's going to be a really nice duo for years to come. I would say like Zegras and Terry stay together with Mason McTavish. Of course, they can shuffle some lines around. Frank Vatrano may be the odd man out, but he could be, inside the top 6 at times. Really good on the power play, but if I'm the Ducks, I'm going Leo Carlson, Gauthier, Fowler, Terry, maybe Zegras, and you'd have Frank Vatrano and Killorn and McTavish on that second unit. But Zegras and Terry, I took a share of them in best ball drafts, but I'm not the biggest Zegras guy. I think he's slightly overrated. Terry's like some highs and some lows. Mason McTavish can touch some categories for you, but I think Gauthier and Leo Carlson are a really interesting duo to attack late in best ball formats or just to have some shares of some of these guys. Leo Carlson was on like a load management type deal in his rookie campaign. I think the limitations should be off of him this year. And I like Gauthier on his wing. So he's a volume shooter. Again, plus minus stuff. I just see value with the Sharks and the Ducks. I'm seeing value with them. And also Marchenko as well. It really does break my heart still what happened to Johnny Hockey. Oh my goodness. I might choke up here just even getting back to it. It's just super, super sad. From a hockey standpoint, the Blue Jackets lost him and they lost Line A. So pretty thin, up the middle and really on their squad. We saw some nice moments last year from like Chinnikov and Voronikov. Fantilli to take another step. It really does break my heart thinking about this still. Sean Monahan and the relationship there with Johnny Hockey was a duo that I was looking forward to seeing them back together, with Boone Jenner on the left side. But there's an opportunity here for guys like Chinnikov. JVR is like maybe penciled in their top 6. It's just something that it's going to be a long year in Columbus, unfortunately. But Marchenko is a guy that, he can score some goals. You know, he's a guy that likes to shoot the puck. He's not afraid of shooting the puck. 44 goals through his first 137 games. 16 of those goals have come on the power play. He should be leaned on more here in year 3. 23 goals last year. The shooting percentage, normalized in the sophomore season like we thought it would, but he's a guy that I think could flirt with 30 goals, and you can get him super late in your drafts. Jake Neighbours, another guy, kind of touches some categories. I was surprised looking deeper into his numbers. You love to see the 138 hits that he threw last season, the production on the power play, 14 power play points. His shooting percentage overall may take a hit. He was really clicking high cylinder. What am I even trying to say here? The shooting percentage was high. It was clicking at an unsustainable rate last year at 19%. So, but you look the 27 goals, right? So maybe he lives in I think he's a 20 goal scorer. I think he's 2025. I'm not, super pleased when I look at the Blues top 6. Like you want Kyrou certainly to bounce back. You love Robert Thomas as a player, but there's an opportunity here for Jake Neighbours to stick inside the top 6. Again, he was productive on the power play with the 8 goals on the power play and the 14 power play points, but 145 shots and 27 goals, right? Like that sort of stuff is unsustainable. But, another year here, his 4th year, second full one in the NHL with the Blues. Maybe he can get up to 200 shots, maybe even more hits. And the ice time, even though he only played 15 minutes per game, the totals, you could see the increase in October, 12 minutes per game, November, 13 minutes per game. And then in March, he's playing 17 minutes per game. He's actually averaging 17 minutes per game from February on. So leaned on a little bit more there in St. Louis. Now some deeper sleepers here. Alexis Laferriere is Alex, excuse me, not Lafreniere. Don't mix up the Alex. You got Alexis, who had the nice breakout campaign. I think he's ready for another step as well. You got Alex here of the Kings, and he may not stay, in a top 6 role, but I think he'll be given that opportunity. Last year as a rookie, 12 goals and 23 points in 81 games. You saw there were some times where he was up inside the top 6 and playing with Kopitar and playing with Anze Kopitar and my guy, the sniper, Kempe, Adrian Kempe. I still got football on my brain here. Adrian Kempe. Like, now we look at the Kings, and the Drew Doughty injury really hurts them from just like being a playoff team. I think they're more stable in goal with the addition of Kemper. But I look at their lineup, and I feel like they are missing some things. But the fact that Pierre-Luc Dubois is gone, the fact that Victor Arvidsson is gone, I think there's an opportunity here inside the top 6. I think that Quentin Byfield will move to the middle of the ice where he played a lot of his hockey before he joined the NHL. And I think they can keep like Deneau and Trevor Moore and maybe Tanner Jeannot's there on that third line. They can move some guys around. Maybe Fogle is inside the top 6 at times, but like Kempe, Kopitar, and Laferriere here as a unit that may surprise you. And again, you probably have to be in a super deep league to consider him, but there may be some times where we're talking about him. I'm fully in that camp of like the betting market, plus money for a point, maybe an assist, maybe the over on shots on goal, playing with Kempe and playing with Kopitar. So there's going to be a real opportunity for him. So super, super deep league stuff here. Again, take a look at the undervalued video, a link inside the description of this video if you're looking for some other stuff. Victor Olofsson. So I'm kind of down on the Golden Knights this year. I think they'll be a playoff team. I think their defense is super strong, right? With Theodore and Pietrangelo and Hannafin. I think the defense is strong enough to be a playoff team, but the offense may struggle. Like, they're one Jack Eichel injury away from, I think, being a bottom 10 team offensively. They lose Jonathan Marchessault. They lose Chandler Stevenson. Mark Stone has had issues staying healthy. I'm not crazy about Olofsson and Barbashev being inside the top 6, right? Hurdle may go on the wing, play a little bit with Eichel, but that would leave the bottom 6 super, super thin. Nicholas Roy's a guy that can move on the wing. I would say they probably need Hurdle with Eichel, and Olofsson doesn't stay on Eichel's line. Barbashev may. They even move Barbashev away from Eichel at times. We know that Barbashev and Eichel and Marchessault has been a really strong unit over the past year and a half, really, since they acquired Barbashev and went on to win the Stanley Cup. But Olofsson is a guy that, he had moments. I think his rookie campaign with the Ottawa Senators was a good season for him. The shooting percentage was high. He was getting power play opportunity. But he is going to be given an opportunity, some like new life here for him, where, you look at the back of the hockey card. This may surprise you, but he's got 3 20-goal seasons. Right, the 20 goals as a rookie in 54 games. He had the 16% shooting rate, and 11 of those goals came on the power play. So you really want more 5-on-5 production. And then the shooting percentage dropped down to 10% in 2020. He still had 13 goals in 56 games and 7 goals in the power play. You want more 5-on-5 production. 2021, 20 goals and 49 points in 72 games. 7 goals again on the power play. Shooting percentage fine at 12%. In 2022, 28 goals, shooting percentage career high, 17% for him, 7 goals again on the power play. So this guy's been productive on the power play, and he doesn't throw his body around. He's not a super big volume shooter, but he can score. He's proven to us that he can score 20, 20, and 28 in 3 of the last 5 years. Last year, career low, 11 minutes per game, 7 goals, 15 points in 51 games, right? Skinner, emerged. Peterka, Tage was acquired, or Tage emerged and Tuck was acquired. So didn't really have a big role for him. I don't think he's going to play 17, 18 minutes per game like he did in his first 3 years in the NHL, but I think he could live back in the 15-minute range. Again, somebody else we may be talking to, there's an opportunity for him inside the top 6, most likely on the second power play, let's be real, unless there is some sort of connection with him and Jack Eichel and they're looking good together. So a deep league stuff there. Jake Walman was like another Shark. I've talked so much about the Sharks here. So for Walman, I wanted to put him in undervalued. I landed here with him in sleepers. And, he had a good fantasy season in Detroit. He had 12 goals. He had 21 points. He had 151 blocks. He had 108 shots. So he was touching some categories. He only had 4 power play points. He was playing 1946, which was a career high for him. A lot going on in the Detroit blue line. I think San Jose is a good spot for him. He may get an opportunity on the first power play. I think it's a real possibility that he definitely gets more power play time in San Jose than he did in Detroit. And I think he can touch some categories for you. Most of them may be blocks and some hits and some shots along the way. But I'm telling you, like, the Sharks may actually score some goals. It may be close to the middle of the pack offensively, especially, with Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini as 2 guys that can really bring it. Henry Thrun's probably a guy that gets first crack, more of an upside for him to be, the quarterback on the power play. But Walman is he's experienced. He had some moments last year with Detroit on the power play, but I think he's going to touch some categories. And again, if you're not playing a plus minus, you can kind of pick him up late. The other guy here as a goalie, as a sleeper, is Anthony Stolarz. And I know Joseph Wall's getting some love, and he's kind of going a little too high for me in Yahoo leagues. And I think this could be like a 50-50 split in goal with Samsonov gone. And Stolarz I think he's one of the better backups in the league. Now, you look at last year's numbers, and I'll say this, like, 925 save percentage and 2 shutouts and a 2.03 goals against average. Like, all those are career bests for him, right? He played 27 games. He had 24 starts, which is the most he ever had. The 16-7-2 record. You got the save percentage, like maybe an outlier, but 915 for his career. With the Ducks, he had 917 in 2021. And that was through 23 starts in 28 games. So the same sample size, again, very small. With the Ducks in 2020, he had a 926 save percentage, but only 7 starts. So, but he's had some nice moments when given the opportunity. Now, what I will say is that the Panthers were super stingy. At 5-5, they were the best team in the NHL in 5-5. We've said that all year. That's why we rode them to the Stanley Cup. Like, they were stingy. They didn't give up a whole lot. They allowed the fewest goals at 5-5. This is different to an extent. The Leafs are not as stingy. They're not as sound, but I do like some of the additions they made. Like Tanev is a shutdown defenseman. OEL doesn't have a whole lot to offer, but there's an upgrade there. So the defense, I think it plays a little bit better, but there's an opportunity here. Like, I think that Wall may get the first crack. We saw some nice moments from him last year as well, before the injury, unfortunately. But yeah, he hasn't shown us that he can stay healthy. He hasn't shown us that he can handle a full workload. And he's going a little early. And Stolarz, I have a lot of shares of him in best ball as like my third goalie if I'm not aggressive taking 2 goalies early, which I'm not always. And I'm going to take him in a lot of my drafts like last pick and just wait and see. You could ride both guys because Toronto's going to win a lot of games, right? They're going to flirt with 50 wins. And I just don't want people to be reaching on Wall, going a little earlier in Yahoo, assuming that he's just going to be the guy. He's going to get 60 plus games. Again, he hasn't shown us that. Stay healthy. This is a situation where Berube may just ride the hot hand and may go with the veteran at this point in Stolarz. I would expect Wall to be the game 1 starter for the Leafs when the season opens up, but I think this is going to be pretty close to a split, and Stolarz could take over. So I'm seeing him as like goalie 29, 30, 31 off the board. These guys are a lot closer in my rankings, which you can see over at ftnfantasy.com. Rankings, sleepers, busts, breakout, NHL betting guide. Links inside the description of this video. I have an undervalued video, which I did, which kind of you can say are also sleepers. Just trying to find some value for you guys late in drafts and some players that I think will outperform their ADP. Want some of my targets, my strong targets? Check out the FTN Fantasy Guide over at ftnfantasy.com. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out. At Chris Meaney, subscribe to our YouTube page here at FTN. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section, and I will always circle back on some of these videos in case you have some upcoming drafts. Check out the breakouts in the sleeper video or the undervalue video as well. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.